When you finally stop living in your head, life becomes peaceful again. There are individuals who navigate the complexities of daily existence with an almost remarkable, tranquil ease. They possess a serene demeanor, seemingly untouched by the ceaseless internal battles that plague so many others. These people appear unburdened by the relentless chatter of their own minds, moving through moments with a quiet grace. Contrast this with the common experience of being mentally caught in an endless loop, perhaps dissecting a conversation from several days past, meticulously constructing elaborate future scenarios that, in all likelihood, will never materialize. While your mind is engaged in this constant mental gymnastics, these calm individuals simply reside, peacefully, within the present moment, fully engaged with what is. What if the profound difference between being perpetually caught in a maelstrom of mental noise and discovering that profound, inherent peace isn't rooted in a struggle to control or suppress your thoughts? What if the path to inner calm is, in fact, far more straightforward than you've ever imagined? It's a subtle shift, a different way of relating to your internal landscape. You have, without a doubt, experienced fleeting glimpses of this state yourself. Think of those rare, precious moments when your mind spontaneously quiets down, when the mental gears stop grinding, and suddenly, everything simply feels right, harmonized and complete. The insights I'm about to share are not merely theoretical. They offer a practical pathway to living permanently from that place of natural tranquility and deep inner knowing. Here's a crucial understanding that most people overlook when it comes to the pervasive habit of living in their head. Many mistakenly believe that the root of their discomfort lies in the content of their thoughts, the worries that gnaw at them, the conversations they replay endlessly, the overwhelming cascade of future planning. However, the true source of the problem isn't the specific thoughts themselves. It's a fundamental misunderstanding, a forgetting, of the distinction between your authentic self and the ceaseless activity of your thinking mind. You have conflated your identity with the constant mental stream. Consider this perspective for a moment. As you read these words, there is almost certainly some form of background commentary unfolding within your mind. It might be subtly evaluating what I'm saying, perhaps agreeing or disagreeing. It might be formulating a mental shopping list, or perhaps it's replaying a snippet of an event from earlier in your day. But here is the question, simple yet profound, that very few individuals ever pause to ask. Who, precisely, is the one listening to that internal chatter? If you possess the capacity to hear the voice that speaks within your head, if you can observe it, notice its patterns, watch it articulate its concerns or plans, then by definition, you cannot be that voice. You are, in essence, something else entirely, something deeper, something more expansive, an underlying presence that simply watches, observes, and witnesses. That watching presence, that pure awareness, is who you actually are at your core. The voice, on the other hand, is merely one of the many functions that the mind performs, just as your heart automatically beats or your lungs instinctively breathe. It is an activity, not your essence. The vast majority of people spend their entire lives in complete identification with this internal mental voice. Whatever the voice declares, they unquestioningly believe. Whatever anxieties it conjures, they adopt as their own worries. They never truly grasp that they possess a profound choice, the choice to disengage, to stop listening, or at the very least, to stop taking it so profoundly seriously. But here is where the journey truly becomes fascinating, where the potential for transformative change lies. The very moment you genuinely recognize, even if just for an instant, that you are not synonymous with your thoughts, everything within your internal world begins to shift. If you are still engaging with these words, you have already comprehended a truth that countless individuals resist for their entire lives. The profound possibility that perhaps, just perhaps, you are something far greater, far more expansive than the persistent voice within your head. Your willingness to even entertain questioning your most fundamental assumptions about yourself and your reality indicates that you are inherently ready for the deeper insights that await. This is often the precise juncture where most minds, accustomed to their dominance, tend to push back, to resist. Yet, paradoxically, it is also the very threshold where genuine, enduring inner freedom truly begins. If this resonates deeply within you, I encourage you to consider subscribing to explore more of this transformative understanding. Through consistent observation, I've come to understand a fundamental characteristic of that voice in your head. It is relentless. It never ceases its activity. It operates under the mistaken belief that stopping, that resting, is inherently dangerous. It genuinely thinks that if it isn't perpetually analyzing, meticulously planning, and exhaustively reviewing every detail, then something terrible, something catastrophic, will inevitably occur. It holds the sincere conviction that its unending commentary, its constant vigilance, is actively protecting you from harm. Yet, the vast majority of what this internal voice communicates has absolutely no connection to any actual, present-moment danger or threat. It is, more often than not, merely mental static, a perpetual background hum that indiscriminately treats every situation, every input, as a potential threat requiring immediate assessment. Consider how your mind incessantly replays that awkward conversation from last week. It's not because there's any tangible, real-world problem left to solve or any immediate action to take. It's simply because that's what the mind does. It replays past events, it rehearses future interactions, it analyzes every conceivable angle, often long after any utility has passed. This incessant mental activity generates what I refer to as mental time travel. Your physical body remains firmly rooted in the present moment, right here, right now, but your mind is simultaneously everywhere else. It's reliving embarrassing moments from years ago with vivid clarity, imagining worst-case scenarios that have not yet occurred and likely never will, and meticulously planning out conversations that may, in fact, never take place. And here's a critical insight. That internal voice thrives on your attention. Every single time you engage with it, every instance you argue with its pronouncements, every attempt you make to fix whatever it happens to be worrying about, you are effectively giving it a direct command to continue its activity. You are providing it with fuel, sustaining its ceaseless energy. The more intensely you wrestle with this internal voice, the stronger, more insistent, and more dominant it becomes. The individuals who exude that natural, effortless calm haven't magically silenced their minds from talking altogether. That's a common misconception. Instead, they have simply ceased to take the voice so profoundly seriously. They hear the internal commentary just like everyone else, but they possess the unwavering understanding that it is not them. It's merely a part of the background noise of consciousness, sometimes offering genuinely useful insights, but often generating nothing more than irrelevant static. Crucially, they understand that it is never, ever, the ultimate truth of who they are. When you finally internalize this fundamental distinction, that persistent and often suffocating feeling of being trapped within the confines of your own head begins, beautifully, dissolve. Right now, in this very instant, take a brief moment to simply notice something. There is likely a voice within your mind that is commenting on these very words I am sharing. Perhaps it's quietly agreeing with what is being said. Perhaps it's expressing a degree of skepticism or doubt, or maybe it's wondering whether this practice could genuinely work for you, personally. Simply notice that voice. Really, truly notice its presence and its activity. Now, ask yourself this profoundly revealing question. Who is the one noticing this voice? If you possess the ability to hear it, to observe it, to be aware of its pronouncements, then it is impossible for you to be that voice. You are something else entirely, something that watches, that perceives, that is aware. That watching awareness, that pure consciousness, that is your true self. The voice is simply something you hear, an experience you have, not who you are. Most people navigate their entire lives completely lost within that dense mental commentary. They mistakenly believe that they are their thoughts. So when the internal voice declares, "I'm not good enough," they internalize it as an absolute truth and feel the accompanying sting of inadequacy. When it predicts, this is absolutely going to go wrong, they immediately experience a surge of anxiety and fear. When it replays embarrassing moments from the past, they relive the shame and humiliation all over again, as if the event were happening anew. But here is the understanding that has the power to change everything. The internal voice is almost exclusively preoccupied with either the past or the future. It is constantly replaying what has already transpired, or meticulously rehearsing what might or might not happen in the future. It is never actually present here in this unfolding moment, because this present moment fundamentally does not require commentary. It simply is. It exists in its own completeness, needing no analysis or narrative. What is truly fascinating is the insidious way this relentless mental noise constructs an emotional echo chamber within us. The internal voice might craft an elaborate story about what someone's cryptic text message really means. Immediately, you feel a sharp pang of hurt or offense. Then the voice, ever analytical, begins to dissect that feeling of hurt, weaving even more intricate narratives about the relationship, about your worth, about the other person's intentions. Suddenly, without realizing it, you find yourself profoundly upset, emotionally distressed about an entire scenario that exists solely within the confines of your own imagination. You end up having full-blown emotional reactions, sorrow, anger, fear, to scenarios that have not happened, to conversations that have only occurred in your head, and to interpretations of events that may be entirely erroneous or far from the truth. When you begin to recognize this pervasive pattern, something truly beautiful and liberating unfolds. You start to see with piercing clarity that the vast majority of your suffering, your anxiety, your sadness, isn't actually stemming from what is happening in your external reality. Instead, it is originating from the elaborate stories your mind insists on telling about what is happening. That gnawing anxiety you frequently feel, it's rarely about the present moment itself. It's almost always about the imagined future scenarios your mind is busily constructing. That heavy weight of regret, it's not about the event that occurred in the past. It's about the narrative, the self-critical story you continue to tell yourself about what happened. The moment you see this dynamic with unmistakable clarity, you suddenly realize that you have been living within a mental prison, a self-imposed confinement, without even realizing the bars were there. And here is the most astounding part. The door to that prison has been wide open the entire time. You've simply forgotten how to walk through it. So, how do you begin the process of truly stopping, or at least significantly reducing, this habit of living predominantly in your head? Here is a simple yet incredibly powerful technique, a practical approach that has the potential to change everything for you. I call it the notice and name practice. When you catch your mind spiraling, perhaps replaying an old conversation for the 10th time, or meticulously planning out every detail of tomorrow, or catastrophizing and imagining every possible thing that could go wrong, perform 3 straightforward actions. 1. First, pause and name it. Internally, or even quietly aloud if you're alone, pause and declare, "I notice my mind is thinking about," and then clearly name the thought or mental activity. For example, "I notice my mind is replaying that argument from yesterday," or "I notice my mind is worrying about the presentation next week." This act of naming externalizes the thought, creating a slight distance. 2. Second, remind yourself. Immediately follow this by gently reminding yourself, "I am not this voice. I am the one who hears it." Reiterate this fundamental truth. If you possess the capacity to notice the incessant mental chatter, if you can observe it, then it is impossible for you to be that mental chatter. You are the observer, the awareness. 3. Third, anchor your attention. Now, consciously and deliberately, anchor your attention to something tangible that is happening in your present physical reality, right now. Feel the firm sensation of your feet on the ground beneath you. Notice and identify 3 distinct sounds in your immediate environment. Take 1 slow, deep, conscious breath, feeling the air fill and leave your lungs. This isn't an attempt to forcibly stop your thoughts. That's often a futile and frustrating endeavor. Instead, it's about consciously choosing where you direct and sustain your precious attention. Practice this technique whenever you catch yourself engaging in mental time travel. You can do it discreetly in the grocery store aisle, right before you drift off to sleep, or even silently during a conversation when your mind starts to wander. The internal voice will undoubtedly keep talking. That is its nature, and it's perfectly normal. But each successive time you notice its activity, without getting pulled into its narrative, without believing its every word, you are incrementally training yourself. You are gradually shifting your default mode of operation from one of identification with mental noise to one of living from a deeper, more peaceful awareness. Over the coming days and weeks, as you consistently apply this practice, you will begin to catch yourself earlier and earlier in the process. You'll notice the onset of the mental chatter before it has a chance to sweep you away into its current. You'll become aware of the subtle stirrings of worry before it fully takes over your physical body and emotional state. Each time you manage to notice without becoming entangled, without getting pulled in, you significantly strengthen your identity as the calm observer, as the witnessing presence, rather than reinforcing your identification with the transient voice itself. True, profound change unfolds in layers, not instantly overnight. But every single time you remember, every time you gently remind yourself, "I am not my thoughts," you effectively come home to yourself. You return to that deeper, authentic part of you that has always been inherently at peace, quietly waiting beneath the surface of the mental noise. If this way of perceiving reality, this approach to understanding your inner world, resonates deeply within you, then you are precisely the kind of individual for whom this channel and its message are intended. This is for people who are genuinely ready to cease being controlled, swayed, and dictated by the incessant stream of their thoughts, and instead are prepared to start living consciously from something far deeper, far more authentic, and infinitely more peaceful. If you have found genuine value and insight in these words, I sincerely invite you to subscribe and join a growing community of others who are actively choosing awareness over the often overwhelming tide of mental noise. And I would greatly appreciate it if you would drop a comment below, sharing what you noticed, what you experienced, or what shifted for you when you tried the simple act of observing your thoughts instead of automatically believing them.